Hey everybody, if you can hear us, this is Ryan Steller and Mike Martinelli from Standard Care, and this is a live episode of the briefing where we are going to have a discussion about ADHD and some recent research that came out. We're doing this live because we attempted to film our normal segment format or normal format for the briefing, and found that the topic, we weren't really ready to finalize and write a script for the topic. So in that, also that we had quite a bit that we wanted to read and discuss amongst ourselves internally. So this is a live stream. It's going to be fairly open-ended. I wouldn't expect it to be easy to digest, but if you're interested in the topic and you sort of like our angle on these things, it's a way to kind of hear us talk about it a little bit. We both have a little bit of personal experience with ADHD, and there are some promising updates. So I think everybody is probably familiar with medication treatment because it's very controversial or popular topic, and there's some new origin research about ADHD that I think might be helpful for either finding treatment, or one of the big things in ADHD is self-judgment and self-consciousness around ADHD. So the research might give you more comfort or a sense of security about what ADHD is and is not, and how you may want to change your own personal treatment going forward. So I guess just kind of kicking things off, Mike, how are you doing?
Good. Eagles still have the best record in the NFL, and we're playing San Fran on this weekend. So
Yeah, it's
I'll admit I'm a little nervous about this game. So they're the two best teams in the NFL going at it.
So Eagles are 10-1. What's San Fran's record? I don't know anything about football, so
I think they have like two losses or three,
okay,
maybe two. Yeah,
great.
but they're a solid team.
The only thing I know about Bay Area football is that, or sports in general, is that people keep trying to steal our teams. So that's I'm just kind of mourning the decline, I guess, of the San Francisco Bay Area as an influential geography. Cool. So, Mike, you had done some background research on this, and I think the thing that is new. We'll talk a bit about the ADHD overall. So maybe that'd be a good place to start. Um, I think one of the things that came up when we started talking about ADHD is the trends around self-diagnosis and what you might call the appropriation of ADHD for things that are not actually ADHD. And social media has played a huge role in this. TikTok in particular, you may not know this, but or the audience may not know this, but some huge portion of TikTok's content, like 45%, is health and wellness related content. So half the time people are talking about something about diet or whatever. And ADHD and autism are very big. And I think there's just a remarkable amount of people very confidently, people who are not doctors, and even some doctors who are kind of maybe seeking fame more than clinical credibility on there, talking about this stuff in a way that is really questionable. So how many people have ADHD? What is the prevalence of ADHD? Let's see. So according to the CDC, 2% of people 3 to 5 years old, 10% of people 6 to 11 years old, and then 13% of people 12 to 17 years old. So I guess that is the expression is it's easier to diagnose as you get older because you're expected to do more tasks that require concentration and strong executive function, the ability to focus and manage time. And as you get older, you're probably are less able to counteract the ADHD symptoms, or hide the ADHD symptoms as just being a normal child. So that's a lot of people. It's 1 in 10 people. This doesn't get into it here, but ADHD is positively selected for genetically. So we should get a reference for that. Audience at home looking at my typing, I apologize. But there, one of the things that I found really interesting is, and it kind of makes sense because to have prevalence like greater than 10% in the human population, there has to be something somewhat effective or desirable or impactful about that set of traits that makes it persist. So I guess I don't know. Let me see if we didn't prepare an article on this. This is a little bit tricky, but there's some retrospective genomic analysis digging into these topics, and it is our analysis supports that natural selection has been acting against current ADHD risk allies for a long time, albeit the fraction of the causality explained by these SNMPs remains relatively modest in the considered I don't know what that means. First, Mike, do you know what that means? Of the proposed hypotheses to explain the prevalence, the results. Okay, increase.
What was the term? Was that an acronym you were saying?
There, I don't know. This is risky pulling up a random article without having read it first. I was trying to support the idea that ADHD is positively selected for, but I think this one is actually counteracting it. It sounds like they're concluding in this one that low F tolerant genes are enriched end signals in association with ADHD. Given that ADHD is an early onset condition, such result would support the hypothesis that it is under selective pressures. So I guess it was at one point higher and is being pushed out. Second, the ancestral state of current ADHD associated variants is enriched in risk allies compared to the expected under neutrality. Finally, the relationships between sample age of ADHD computed in ancient samples consistently points towards a higher frequency of ADHD associated alleles in older samples and negative trend with decreasing in time in these samples. We showed this decay cannot be explained by dilution due to admixture with hunter-gatherers or by continuous migration from African populations carrying lower levels of the considered ADHD risk alleles, as African populations show higher frequencies of these alleles compared to European populations. These results do not imply the African populations have higher prevalence of ADHD, as these markers have been identified in European ancestry samples, and it has been recently shown that GWAS SNP portability among continents is limited. Moreover, by the means of I don't know what this stuff really means.
As a specific gene, it sounds like.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. We directly evidence that polygenic selective pressures against ADHD risk alleles from 45,000 to 10,000 years. In fact, this pattern could also be traced back to 2,000 to 3,000 years by using the TSDS estimates in specific modern European populations from the UK. We also prove that the decay of ADHD risk alleles is not the demographic byproduct of Neanderthal introgression, as we observed. That introgressed, I don't know what that means. I guess that's in breeding in of like Neanderthals breeding into the sapiens or whatever. Alleles of SNPs. Not a evolutionary biologist or whatever. So SNPs, SNPs. Okay, single nucleotide nucleopeptides.
Single mono something peptides. That's a term from genetics. That's for all those people who love genetics courses, which is usually the bane of a med student or graduate student's existence is genetics.
Yeah. So the actual genetic material alleles at associated with ADHD are enriched with the risk allele instead. Once again, these results do not imply that ancient AMH or archaic species had an increased risk of ADHD since the specific loci associated with the ADHD, like phenotype in the Neanderthal and ancient samples, are unknown. However, we can make use of these results to contextualize the evolution of ADHD variants in AMH. Out of the proposed hypotheses to explain the high prevalence of ADHD in current populations, the Phyto hypothesis, which assumes that ADHD risk alleles are of anatomically modern human origin, does not predict the observed excess of Neanderthal introgress ADHD alleles, nor the decay of, I guess, factor sub ADHD in the period which Neanderthals and AMH shared the environment. The Waiter theory, which explains the rise in frequency of ADHD and homo lineage living in aquatic environments. Wow. So homo lineage living in aquatic environments. Does that mean? Oh man, this is a fascinating paper that I'm not ready to read aloud on camera. Cannot
It
account
sounds
for
pretty dense.
yeah cannot account for the enriched derived alleles associated with the protective ADHD phenotype compared with chimpanzees, nor the differences in the proportions of introgress ADHD. I was looking for a slightly crisper hypothesis to build out my talking point, but this is really
I could
interesting.
give you the straight up. Um, oh, I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, no, no. That's
So like the basis, like the foundation of how it's understood currently is that there is, and there's a lot of research and a lot of papers that support this. There's a strong genetic connection. It's very rare. Um, I mean, if you have a small family, when I say small family, like a small extended family, so if you don't have a lot of cousins, aunts, and uncles, it might not be as obvious. But if you have a large extended family and you happen to have, people in that family with ADHD, there's a it's more likely than not that you will have other relatives like cousins, aunts, uncles, and even siblings that have it as well. It has a strong it expresses the gene expresses itself very strong in like genetic lineage and hereditary patterns. But there's also the environmental component, and this is the same general theme that we see with other types of psychological and mental disorders is environment, specifically the environment that you grow up in your most impressionable years. So when you're like a child, types of, uh, if you're the natural environment, so if you're living somewhere where it's the highly polluted, certain chemicals over time could play a role in, activating the, disorder in the, well, it's in the prefrontal cortex. I'll get into that in a moment. Brain injury, and even stress. That's the one, the new post-traumatic stress is what we're going to talk about soon, which is one of the new pieces of research that came out that showed a strong correlation. But just to back up a bit about how it works at the neurobiological level, is that the prefrontal cortex is the executive of your brain. It's emotions, decision making, and the two neurotransmitters, which are both catecholamines that are directly involved in the ability to concentrate and focus, are dopamine and norepinephrine. So people with ADHD have, biologically speaking, depleted or much lower levels of those neurotransmitters in their prefrontal cortex, as does a person without ADHD. So that's like the biological basis for it. So to kind of fast forward to what we wanted to bring up for this episode is new research that came out linking finding a strong positive correlation between severe childhood trauma and then the development of ADHD soon thereafter. Like when I say soon, I mean still in childhood, or in like just as they're getting into their teen years. So that's like a kind of a new update in the ADHD research field.
Gotcha. I think you said drama Was that a was that you think you meant
Oh,
trauma?
I meant to say trauma. Maybe it didn't pronounce it as trauma, like traumatic.
Huh. Supposedly we have an echo. I'm told we have an echo.
Really? Huh. I think I. Oh no, that was on the other one. I thought I.
We do have an echo. Dang. Thanks for the heads up. Somebody just gave me a heads up that we have an echo. God.
Oh, at least someone's watching it.
Let me see if I
Great.
check
Got
one,
an
two.
audience.
Check one, two.
I don't hear it on my end. It's when I talk to you, hear an echo, or if you try talking,
I think I got it.
I just want to make sure it's like not my speaker with you talking going into my mic.
Generally, headphones would be better, but that's not the. I don't think that's the problem here. So I think it was the screen capture was doing audio also, and I think it's done. So thanks. Only when the other dude is. Okay, nice. Okay, we got it. All right, all right, doing it live. Sick. Um, okay, so I think we should. I wonder if we should restart. Should we restart? I don't know.
Sure. I mean, I don't care. I'm fine either way.
All right, let's just roll with it. So, um, we got one viewer. That's so cool. So I'm waiting on Standard Care to reply here because I was seeing if I could get it to process the paper for us, which it should be able to do, but I'm not really sure if nope, that's not it. So Standard Care, as I think everybody knows, or maybe doesn't know, is a web app you can use to ask questions and get recommendations around care options. And
There's also the Chrome extension.
there's a
We
Chrome
have.
extension as well, which I have been
Yep.
using, but I don't think it shows up. It doesn't show up on the OBS
Oh, gotcha.
because I was actually doing it over top the paper. So you could do both actually. You can use Standard Care in in either setting. So I went to the uh, using the product online in real time. Okay. Okay. Now that you don't have an echo on, like maybe repeat the physiologic explanation for ADHD for the audience
Oh
under.
yeah, sure. So at the neuro biological level, what the cause of it, chemically speaking, is so there's different parts of the brain that are in charge of different functions like hearing, tasting, smelling, all that. Executive functions, which is the encompassing term for emotions, how we make decisions, and ability to focus and concentrate. That's all occurs in the prefrontal cortex, specifically as it pertains to ADHD. There's two specific catecholamines, which are neurotransmitters, which is the class of neurotransmitters that are involved, directly involved with the pathophysiology of attention deficit disorder, and that is dopamine and norepinephrine. People who have ADHD have depleted or much lower levels of dopamine and norepinephrine in their prefrontal cortex compared to someone who's not affected, who doesn't have the condition. And that's why, like, one of the most commonly, like, well-known class of medications for this are stimulant based, because what they do is they increase especially dopamine, but they increase the uptake of dopamine and norepinephrine in the prefrontal cortex, which then enables people with the disorders to focus and concentrate much, at a much better level. Um, Hopefully, usually almost to the same degree as someone without the condition. But there's also, like, what we touched upon when we opened, is that there's different looking at different theories, or not just theories anymore. Like, there's actual evidence that we're looking into based on research of how um, someone, how someone gets it. So it's not like a disease like the flu where you catch it by, someone sneezing on you. This is a different type of condition. So um, there's a bit long established, and this is very, heavy in the literature, that there's a strong genetic component. So it's prevalent within families, is passed down in genes. That doesn't mean everyone in the family will have it, but you'll see it a lot. If not siblings, then probably aunts, uncles, or cousins. There's a strong hereditary connection, but there's also the nature component. So children growing up in certain environments, whether the environment has to do with, the physical environment, where there's certain chemicals that they're constantly breathing in, like heavy metals specifically. And I bring heavy metals up because metals are neurotoxic, and they could have a whole slew of different effects on the brain, depending on how long someone's exposed to them. But there's also the like, emotional component. So this brings me to the newer research that we wanted to discuss today, which is researchers finding a strong positive correlation between severe childhood trauma, like traumatic events that they've experienced, and then later on down the line developing ADHD. Actually, like, not long down the line, like while they're still in their childhood and reaching preteen years. So that's like the new update in the ADHD research, is that correlation right there, childhood trauma.
I think I'm talking and it's not going through actually. Damn. Could you hear me? I think it's.
Yeah, I hear you.
I think it was not working. Oh man, this is this is rough. Uh, um,
I think I just heard myself, like, delayed on your end.
Okay. This is this is this is like everything's going. I'm glad we're doing this. Classic. All right, so
Is there a time limit for this? Is is that
well,
the issue?
um, there's two things. It was the context link was too long, so that the app should have aired out and let um you or I know that, or let me know that, reported that in the UI. And then did we stop? What's going on? YouTube is not responding. Why is YouTube not responding? We froze the stream froze up.
Are you still signed into your YouTube account by any chance?
Yeah.
Like I randomly just like my computer logged. I'm always like logged into my Gmail, which is also my YouTube account. It
Yeah.
just like logged me out of all my
Like a security thing.
Gmail. Not a Yeah, it wasn't a security thing because I would have gotten like a pop up notification from like Norton or something. I just didn't know if that was related. It might just be on my end, my account.
Sorry, audience. We are absolutely crushing it right now. Okay, let's.
Yeah, we're at the influencer status.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like we're about to be like invited to con as next gen influencers. Um, my I'm sure my many enemies are also excited to watch this flaming shit show. Uh, all right. I'm getting all sorts of errors from YouTube. The stream is it's like the stream is what? It's saying the stream is something. The stream is what? What is this? Okay. Well, this context link was very close. I'm gonna try this again because this I thought this would work. So I'm gonna try. I'm gonna end this and then clear it just so it's easier to see and drop this in. See if we can get a summary of this paper. Let's go. All right, because there's a whole bunch of like random terms. You know what? Undo this. So get rid of this, and then I just want the.
Could you send that paper to me in Slack by any chance, just so I could?
I can send it to you. No snappy comeback. All right, let me just get this quick. This is a fascinating paper. I don't know a ton about genetics though, so this is a little bit. This is definitely like doing it live for the audience's like entertainment at the.
This is raw and authentic.
Yeah, this is raw and authentic. This is craft. This is craft digital marketing. This is not mass produced digital marketing. This is
Starting a new trend, not the pre-scripted like get your lighting and camera angles all perfect and doing 5 million retakes. We're doing it all natural right here.
yeah. This is man that oh, we hit the limit. I gotta sign in. Stand by. Stand by. So for the audience at home, this is standard care. We don't normally use it for this use case a ton, but it is a large language AI that is designed for a lot of use cases, and particularly around diagnosis and managing care. And this one is something that we're testing out, which is having conversations with the AI specific to your conditions, and then seeing if you can get some material care navigation from it. So yeah, I don't know what's going on. It's not really designed for this. It's actually we've never once did this, so I'm not sure why I expected this to work, but it is here. Individuals. Okay, upload. Ion is then used. I'm unclear if this is the summary or not. Okay. To estimate the p-value for the observed statistics results supported by alternative analyses to ensure the robustness of the results. That looks like it might just be the paper.
That's, yeah, the statistical analysis of their data. What was the p-value? Just so I have an idea.
It's got to be 95, right? If it's not 95, why publish it? Magically,
well, yeah, use either like a 95 or 99% confidence interval, but the p-value, that's like the confidence interval that you use in the calculation. The p-value would, the closer it is to 1.
Oh,
or am I thinking about p-value?
No, I think it.
Test.
P-value. So p-value is defined as the probability under the assumption of no effect or no difference, null hypothesis, of obtaining a result equal to or more extreme than that was actually observed. The P stands for probability and measures how likely it is that an observed difference between groups is due to chance. So in null hypothesis significance testing, the p-value is the probability of obtaining test results at least as extreme as a result actually observed, under the assumption that the null hypothesis is correct. Most authors refer to statistically significant as a p-value less than 0.05 and statistically highly significant as p.001, less than 1 in 1,000 chance of being wrong. The asterisk system avoids the woolly term significant. Woolly. Interesting.
Yeah, the p 0.00 or 0.05, that would be like using 95% confidence interval, and then the 0.001 would be the 99% confidence interval. Those are the only two that you use in statistics.
Yeah. All right. So what? Okay, so what? So there's a genetic component. We kind of knew that. I would like a better summary of the genetic component. ADHD positive genetic selection. So Google is your medical provider can provide better guidance. According to this study, there's evidence of positive selection at the human dopamine receptor D4 gene locus. ADHD is estimated to have heritability of 77 to 88%. This is similar to the heritability of other disorders such as autism, bipolar, schizophrenia. Not a great group to be listed with. I think those are all more negative, but and an older sibling, if an older sibling has ADHD, a child has a more than 30% chance. Genetic testing can help clinicians determine which ADHD medications to try. That makes sense. I've never been offered genetic testing though. By
Yeah, that's not really. I mean, I think it has to do with the cost. First of all, the cost of the testing would. I don't think any insurance company would cover that. And also, even if they found, they say they know certain genes that could indicate whether or not you would have, or that would indicate the presence of ADHD. Um, Even if you have a gene for something, whether it's ADHD or some other disorder, doesn't mean you're going to express it. So that like gene expression is a term in genetics, which means that you could have uh, like a gene that's silent for a certain disease. Like you could have a cancer gene, but it doesn't express itself. Um, Expressing itself means you would actually develop physically the disorder. Um, so like so the term would be you could have a genotype uh, for ADHD, but not necessarily the phenotype. The phenotype would be like, do you actually, does your body, does, your biological mechanisms actually carry out that activated gene? So the cost of genetic testing, how expensive it is, and the fact that it doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, if you have a gene that indicates ADHD, it doesn't mean you'll necessarily have it. And
yeah,
when I say have it, meaning you'll be affected by it.
right. All right. So let's see. Got distracted by this asymmetrical tonic neck reflex. Well, let's see. Okay, so that's a good question. So what are um, let's see if we can get a good result for this. Okay. These are these are therapeutic solutions, but these are not. This didn't answer my question effectively. Let's go to here. What are some genetic tests for ADHD? So for the audience at home, one of the question is like, what would be the difference of using standard care over ChatGPT or Google? And one of the things we're doing is connecting the queries you put into it. One, making them private, so keeping them from advertising usage. We do use OpenAI underneath, but we have kind of the enterprise plan, and we're working on self-hosting an AI there, or a language model, and then also incorporating your medical history and a network of potential solutions to refer out to with that medical history. So let's see. Genomind, the science behind better solutions. Pharmacogenetic testing, precision software, medicine consoles, population health. So it's like Genomind this is a tech company, right? So pharmacogenetic testing, reporting options to suit your approach, treatment planning, assess. Okay, what is the actual test though? Okay, here we go. Can I blow this up? Okay, so pharmacodynamic gene variations, therapeutic implications, brain-derived neurotrophic factor B DNF is a protein.
Brain derived neurotrophic factor.
Is it?
Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's I was just given the full name of that
Yeah,
derived neurotropic uh,
factor.
factor.
Yeah, is a protein involved in the neuronal development and neuroplasticity. Okay, so that's one. MTHFR methylated hydrofolate reductase is an enzyme responsible for the conversion of folic acid to methylfolate, which is a cofactor needed for serotonin, norepinephrine, and dopamine synthesis. SLC6A4 serotonin transporter, synaptic transporter protein responsible for serotonin reuptake. ADRA2A alpha 2A and adrenergic receptor. So it sounds like these are cool. I have never seen this before. Are you familiar with either this company specifically or this pharmacodynamic uh, set of assays, Mike?
Yes, they sound familiar. I'm familiar with them from like neuropharmacology.
Yeah.
What was the name of the company again? That
Genomind.
Genome. Is that a database? Or am I thinking about something else?
Like a G database.
Yeah.
This appears to be a test and a set of related solutions.
Oh. Oh, I see. Yeah, I just pulled it up. Their website. It's pretty cool.
They have a mental health map. What's that? The expert starting point for your mental health, Genomind mental health map. I was hoping for a literal map, but what is this? Oh, this is the test kit. Is this the name of their test kit? It's cool it's cool that you can order a test kit. That's cool. How much? It's $250. That's kind of cool. All right. So if you're listening at home, I didn't know this existed 10 minutes ago, but I guess you can get mental health map DNA test with expert consultation for $250. That actually seems like a pretty decent deal. Is it a blood test? How is it taken?
I think it might be saliva. This sounds
Saliva.
similar, and it says that like employers can offer it through like your health plan. When I was
Oh,
working at
nice.
Jefferson and in the I do an IP and tech transfer, they offered a similar thing, which you might be familiar with, called Color,
Yes.
and it
Oh, yeah.
it just it's like it tells you if you're genetically predisposed to like certain cancers or heart disease, and it even tells you whether or not you have the gene that would make what is it cilantro taste like soap.
Right.
Apparently I have that gene, but I love cilantro and I don't think it tastes like soap, or maybe I'm just a psychopath and I like soap. So jury's still out on that one.
No, no, nobody's judging you for that. I think so. You can get it on Amazon. Let's see. I'm gonna put this on like a. It's well rated too. So this is a lot of things. This is not just ADHD. This is like a whole uh, Genomind. So they have okay. Oh, this is helpful. They have like a must be ordered by a healthcare provider, available without a prescription, informs on medication and therapeutic response, informs on medication and dosing guidance, informs on genetic predisposition for behavior. It's weird that the professional one wouldn't just include everything in the generic one, but maybe they can't. They don't have like FDA approval for that. And then you
Yeah, that's
can you can
probably.
get this on an FSA or HSA, which is cool. FSAs are a
Oh yeah,
scam though.
the medication dosing thing. That's um, because you could check for genes that involve certain liver and enzymes in the liver that metabolize uh, classes of medication that are go through that route.
Right.
So that's kind of that's a very helpful tool depending on what they could test for, which enzymes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. All right. Do you have any thoughts or questions on this?
Don't think I have any questions on it. Covered a lot of ground. some very sciencey, technical ground here.
Yeah.
Neurobiology of attention deficit disorder.
I want to see if let's see if there's similar products to GenoMind that we can determine from search ranking. GenoMind, pharmacokinetics, yada yada yada. Okay, and how genetics may impact medications. Okay. Product. The GeneSight psychotropic test. Psychotropic analyzes how your genes may affect the outcomes of medications commonly prescribed to treat depression, anxiety, ADHD, and other mental health conditions. The GeneSight psychotropic test provides your clinician with information about which medications may require dose adjustments, may be less likely to work for you, or may have an increased risk of side effects based on your genetic makeup. Okay. Very cool. Okay. All right. So we'll go back. Okay. All right. So let's get back to the more like current research. Do you have one of the links handy for?
Um, for the childhood trauma research.
Yeah, the kind of the up to date stuff. I have one here. The which one? There's an
I have a
NC.
good one that's I'll send it to you right now in Slack. That's
Yeah,
easy to digest.
right on.
It's from Attitude, which is a popular magazine resource specifically dedicated to ADHD.
Okay. All right, and let's see. What is this related to in terms of when when was this published? I think that's something I'm curious about. If it's recent or
The link I just sent you was published August 9th, 2023, so a few months ago.
okay. All right, so why don't you go ahead and kind of take the lead on this. Give me your takeaways on this.
Sure. So basically, what they're doing with this article, this is not the original research article. It's just discussing it in more layperson terms. So what they talk about is they use post-traumatic stress disorder as like a comparison and also like a reference point for determining the likelihood that a child who encounters life circumstances that would trigger post-traumatic stress disorder. um, they studied, like, they looked at whether or not there was a parallel to them, the development of attention deficit disorder, um, for the group of children in that same cohort of individuals who experienced traumatic events in early childhood, and they noticed that um, exposure to very traumatic and also long in duration. So it could be one very severe. It doesn't necessarily mean like you had one severe traumatic event that caused you to develop it later on in life or later on in childhood. It's a constant exposure to trauma. So an example of that would be any type of abuse that a young child is exposed to. They found a strong positive correlation between that type of trauma in early childhood and then developing ADHD later on in childhood and by preteen years. And that's separate from, they isolated that whether and that was found to be the case, regardless of whether or not there's a genetic predisposition. So they found that it's like also possible that you might not have the gene that makes you predisposed to it. It could actually be, you could develop it based on outside environmental circumstances. And environmental doesn't necessarily, like I said earlier, mean what types of air you're breathing in. The social environment. Um, and you hear a lot about that, like in developmental psychology in general, the earlier years of childhood are the most impressionable. So it makes sense that if there's a certain psychiatric disorder that could, come about, that it would start by whatever circumstances were occurring in the child's early stages of development. Um, so that yeah, that's the latest research in a nutshell.
Gotcha. So, um, okay, but this is resonating with a lot of people. I'm skimming it now, but did they, what did they talk about in terms of neuroplasticity and the ability to like retrain through either therapy or other means around, um, fixing it? Is it possible? Does it happen? Is there hope for that yet?
Yeah, actually, that brings up another article that was just published yesterday, November 29th, in Very Well Health, which is a popular uh, journal. They have psychiatry, all different kinds of health topics. Uh, and this article talks about a technique called body doubling as a cognitive approach to treat ADHD. And what it is it might sound kind of silly, just like on top, like on its face, but essentially what this strategy is for somebody with the condition to literally like shadow another person and copy their and follow their movements. So if one person, who's being shadowed, the one without ADHD, is sitting down and doing a certain work, like writing something, the person who's body doubling or shadowing them, who has the condition, does the same exact thing. And they do it for a period of time to try to train their mind. It's like that's the thought, is like training their mind, like rewiring it to kind of function um, more, like a mind that doesn't have it. So that was a very interesting novel and like recent approach that they're looking into. Body doubling is what it's called, and it could be used for other conditions too, like OCD. Um, uh, that's just hypothesized; that hasn't been tried yet. But um, when I say OCD, there's different types. One is commonly used in our culture. People might just say it, like not necessarily meaning they have it, just like they like to be neat and clean. I'm referring more about like the actual in the DSM, obsessive compulsive personality disorder, which is where people actually have like certain rituals they have to do. Like they have to turn the sink, they have to pull the lever on the sink one like 5 times before they could wash their hands. They have to do very specific niche rituals in order to complete a task, or else like it triggers a very strong anxiety response. So that's like another application for this body doubling technique as well.
Right. Interesting. Okay. Um, just looking at all of the different AIs to see what they say. Bard. Bard is more relevant with. I don't care.
Which
Okay.
one is Bard again? Is that
Bard
Google
is the
or
one from Google.
Google?
So more richer answer from Bard. which we'd expect. Standard care is locked down just for care navigation purposes. Responses will now show in real time. You can change this. Okay. Body doubling is a productivity strategy that involves working alongside another person to help improve motivation and focus. Particularly individuals with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is simple yet effective technique that can help people with ADHD stay on task, reduce distractions, and increase overall productivity. How body doubling works. Body doubling works by providing external anchor to the person with ADHD. The presence of the body double can help reduce fidgeting, daydreaming, and other distractions and other Body doubling has been shown several benefits, including increased focus. That's cool. So that I like this because it's non it doesn't require a drug. It doesn't require, in theory, like
Yeah.
any physiologic or biochemical impacts or side effects. Here are a few tips for using body doubling effectively. Choose quiet, distraction free. I can. Why are these in green? I get. Oh, I can.
Are they hyperlinks or?
No, I think it's like a citation. Google is trying to give credit to at
Oh,
add.org and whatever. Yeah, whatever. It's basically summarizing websites and it's letting us know which websites, which is good. But I think this highlighting is a little confusing. Um, okay, there are different ways to find a body double. One option is to find a friend, family member, or coworker. There's also a number of online platforms that connect people with ADHD and body doubles, such as I want to know what they are. Body doubling benefits: Cave Day, Flown, Focus Mate, Flow Club. I know Flow Club. Flow Club's fun. Flow Club's good. If you're listening, Flow Club, you basically meet for an hour and do a time box thing. Uh, I think it's with groups. I forget exactly. I did it through an online community that was in, I think one of the founders maybe was in Flow Club, and it's pretty cool. So that makes sense. Space time monotasking cave day. And less time in the cave. Nice. Facilitated work session in the community that keeps you focused and accountable. It's kind of, I wish I could see a little bit more of the product cave day. Also, this is like a really weird sizing of text. Like this one up top is super small. Products. Okay, these are physical products. Okay, I'd like to see a little bit more what this is. I guess led by trained focus experts. Cool. Cool. All right. $35 a month. Okay. All right. That's cool. All right. So that's a good one. So I didn't know body doubling exists. I had used Flow Club, and I think I didn't think of it as therapeutic. I just thought of it as like a social accountability environment. But it makes sense. Body doubling. Okay, so body doubling. We learned about body doubling. That is very positive.
yeah.
All right. What's next?
Uh, I guess the you know I wouldn't necessarily use the term pop culture, but how we see it in society today, from the angle of the the treatment, the
Yeah.
most prevalent and the top line treatment for ADHD, which is stimulant medication,
Right.
because what it does is it directly, um, you know, addresses the two neurotransmitters, dopamine and norepinephrine, that are lacking, that are not high enough levels in the prefrontal cortex. So what you see a lot these days, it's common, not just recreationally for going out or something, but kids in college, grad school, who don't have the condition, using it for studying, and then also continuing on, like you see it in certain industries, like for high pressure work environments where you have to, to be very productive in order to, you know, make it get through the day, get through the week. Um, there's two things about that. One, I'll first address the research part. There's a little research article that came out that's saying that people who don't have uh, a diagnosis of ADHD but use the stimulants in an effort to try to be more productive actually are not. It has the opposite effect. It says that they're more likely to get distracted being um, productive as something that's not important. So like it gets them focused on procrastinating as opposed to what they're supposed to be doing. And the reason for that is because they already have adequate levels of dopamine, which is like the reward drug in their prefrontal cortex. So it makes them more likely to focus on something that's not work related, but they're actually genuinely interested in, like a hobby or something, and then be more focused on doing that instead of doing their actual work, which is not productive, which is essentially what that article is saying. The other part about this more societal thing where it's so common to see people popping, taking them in different ways. I won't get into how it's done, but people taking them, it kind of stigmatizes, or it brings more of a negative stigma, so to speak, to the ADHD community, because it kind of it's pulling them in and kind of like making it look like, oh, because like if you're diagnosed with it and you take these medications, it's just because like one, maybe you're lazy or you're just trying to get ahead and cheat your way ahead. So it kind of has a side, it's like an all like a side byproduct of kind of bringing in people with the actual condition into like a bad light, which doesn't seem fair to them.
Yeah. So yeah, the okay. So there's a lot there. So the we should just remind people what the drugs are. So we got like
Yeah,
Vyvanse, Strattera,
Strattera
Adderall,
is a non-stimulant, so there's two primary classes of stimulants, like methylphenidate, or I always
Phenidate,
pronounce it wrong, and
methylphenidate.
Dex methylphenidate. Yeah, so that would be um, the first one I said is Ritalin and Concerta, and then the similar one to that, it's just basically the same class, would be like Focalin. And then that's usually that, like the standard of care is you try those first, and then you go to the amphetamine class, which is Adderall and Vyvanse. Vyvanse is different, unique compared to all of them, in that it's a prodrug, which allows it and makes the effects last much longer. What a prodrug is it doesn't start to like work immediately, like within 5-10 minutes after taking it, like the other medications. It has to be processed in the liver first by a specific enzyme, which actually activates the drug. So it lasts longer, but it takes a little bit longer to work. And then there's the non-stimulants, like Strattera is one of the non-stimulants. It works for some people, and it doesn't work for others. It doesn't have the success rate of like the amphetamine class. Um, but the amphetamine class, or both the methyl phenidates and the amphetamines, are both stimulants. Those are the ones that in the mainstream that people are taking who don't have it diagnosis.
Gotcha. Wasn't aware of Clonidine as one of them. Let's see, amphetamine, Adderall. What would you call it? Like pharmacodynamic?
Uh, there's pharmacodynamic and dynamics, and pharmacokinetics are two different terms. I should know this. I took pharmacology. Look at pharmacodynamics. Con- uh, kinetics, I think, is more referring to how it's processed, um, metabolized.
Well, reward, motivation, and movement. Norepinephrine, neurotransmitter that's involved in arousal, alertness, attention, serotonin, mechanism of action. Amphetamine increases the release of dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin from presynaptic neurons and blocks the reuptake into the presynaptic neurons. This leads to an increase in the concentration of these neurotransmitters in the synaptic cleft. What the heck is a synaptic cleft? I'm going to look that up. Synaptic
Yeah,
cleft.
it's synaptic cleft. So say this is we're talking about neurotransmission. There's there's a synapse. So there's the
Oh,
neuron, and then there's the synapse in between. And say this my hand is like going into like the synapse right here. Like my fist and my hand, there's a little space between there. That's like the space where the neurotransmitters are traveling from, like one neuron. This is a neuron, and then they're transmitted, um, from my fist into the cleft right here, which is my hand. And then when you talk about blocking reuptake, that means that what reuptake would mean is that after the neurotransmitters coming from my hand go through into my open hand right here, starting from my fist. Reuptake means that they start to go back into this synaptic area, the space between my fist and my open palm. By blocking reuptake, it blocks them from coming back into this space, and it keeps them in the neuron where they're supposed to be, so they could still, perform their function instead of like falling back into um, the synapse where they're not acting on their cellular targets, uh, in the prefrontal cortex.
so okay. Gotcha. Okay. Well, not really. I'm not going to pretend. And no, I mean that's all. Yeah. Okay. So we have increased alertness, amphetamine, da 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 da, including increased alertness and wakefulness. Amphetamine increases the activity of the reticular activation system, which is a network of neurons that controls wakefulness, improved cognitive function. Amphetamine can improve attention, concentration, and memory, increase motor and activity, elevated mood, decreased appetite. It's interesting that Bard is not giving us links back to where it's getting this stuff here. Side effects, anxiety, sleep, loss, etc., etc. I'm curious. Okay, so I'm curious. Effects on non ADHD people.
It would be overstimulation. So more dopamine, for instance, which is the reward chemical in your mind. Um, that also comes with the feeling of euphoria, more of a euphoric feeling, but a stimulated euphoric feeling compared to serotonin, which is the primary neurotransmitter that's not in adequate levels for like anxiety disorders and depression as well. Dopamine is also involved in depression, but so is serotonin. That, like, an overload of that would also cause like euphoric feelings, which you would get from like opiates, but it's more of a relaxed euphoric feeling. So if you ever been in a hospital and had to, have major surgery and they give you a Dilaudid or something, you would feel that euphoria if it helped treat your pain, the relaxed, good feeling, but it's not like a jumpy, like kind of cracked out feeling that would be more associated with dopamine.
All right. Let's see. All right. So I don't know. You wanna? Maybe we should wrap it there because I think we're getting a little off course, and I have a bunch of stuff I want to fix in the app. Um, okay. I think we'll wrap it there, and maybe we'll come back to this another time. But yeah. Any closing thoughts, Mike?
No, I think I covered it all.
Okay. All right. To anybody who's listening out there, who I think is nobody at this point, thanks for being there, and we'll talk to you later.